Life is always hard, a reflection on perseverance in the face of adversity. Good evening, friends. If you're reading this today, you've likely walked a long and winding road, one filled with experiences, some sweet, some bitter, but all woven into the fabric of who you are today. And if there's one thing you've learned through all these decades, it's this: life is hard. It always has been. And in truth, it always will be. But there is something sacred, something deeply meaningful about this struggle. There's a pride that comes with facing life's toughest moments and knowing you've come out the other side, scarred maybe, but stronger. At this stage in life, many of us are reflecting on the journey we've traveled. Perhaps we're looking back at the families we raised, the careers we built, or the losses we've endured. Each of these moments, the good and the bad, shaped us into who we are today. And while the challenges of life don't seem to ease with time, what changes is our ability to face them with a kind of quiet strength, a hard-won dignity that only comes from having lived long enough to understand that nothing worth having ever came easily. So let's talk, friend to friend, about what it means to face this world that often feels as though it's growing colder and more distant with each passing day. Let's talk about the hardships that have always been there, but also the resilience we've built up over a lifetime, and how that resilience is something to be deeply proud of. 1. Life has always been hard, and that's okay. Let's start with a truth that might be uncomfortable for some, but one that you and I know deep down: life has always been hard, and that's okay. Think back to when you were younger, perhaps to the post-war era when you were trying to figure out your place in the world. Maybe you were juggling a job while raising a family. Maybe you were serving your country. Or maybe you were trying to keep food on the table during tough economic times. You didn't have the luxury of asking if things should be easier. No, you got up every day and faced whatever life threw at you. And now, decades later, the challenges have changed, but they haven't gone away. Maybe your body doesn't move like it used to. And maybe the losses have piled up, the loss of loved ones, the loss of physical strength, the loss of independence. But the fact that you're here reading this means you've survived. That's not something to take lightly. Too often the world tries to tell us that getting older is a kind of defeat, that once you pass a certain age, your contributions to life don't matter anymore. But let me tell you this: nothing could be further from the truth. You matter. Every battle you fought, every tear you've shed, every triumph and every failure, all of it has led you here. Life has always been hard, and it will continue to be hard, but the difference now is that you have the wisdom to face it with a deep understanding of what really matters. And that, my friend, is something to be proud of. In fact, the struggle itself is what gives life meaning. Think of the long days you spent working to provide for your family, or the nights you lay awake worrying about the future. Now look at where you are. Still standing, still breathing, still showing up for the people who need you. That's no small feat. 2. Media and society paint a false picture. As the years go by, one of the most frustrating realities we face is watching how the world around us glorifies a version of life that feels completely out of reach. Everywhere we look on television, in movies, on social media, we see perfectly curated lives. The people in these images are always young, always vibrant, always successful. They're healthy, wealthy, and effortlessly happy. But if there's one thing we've learned over the course of our lives, it's that real life doesn't look like that. When we were growing up, there wasn't social media to compare ourselves to. Instead, we measured our success by simpler things: by the strength of our families, by the roof over our heads, by the food we could put on the table. Success wasn't about luxury vacations or designer clothes. It was about survival, about doing the best we could with what we had. And in many ways, that's the kind of success we should still strive for today. But the world has shifted, and now it's easy to feel like we don't measure up. It's easy to look at those perfectly polished lives and feel like we've been left behind, like the world has passed us by. But let me tell you something, those images aren't real. What's real is the life you've lived, the hard days, the sacrifices, the small moments of joy, the times you thought you couldn't go on but somehow did. Don't let the world tell you that you're not enough. The truth is, the fact that you've lived this long through all the changes, through all the heartache and joy, means you've done something extraordinary. While the media may try to sell us on an image of perfection, you and I know that real success is about endurance. It's about surviving the long nights, the difficult years, and the unexpected losses, and coming out the other side with a heart that still beats, a spirit that still fights, and a soul that still loves. 3. We don't need to be told to feel sorry for ourselves. There's been a lot of talk in recent years about mental health, and while I'm the first to acknowledge that it's important to recognize when we need help, there's something to be said for the way our generation has learned to cope with life's difficulties. We didn't have the luxury of taking time off to focus on our mental health. We couldn't afford to sit back and analyze our feelings when there was work to be done, children to raise, or bills to pay. Instead, we pressed on. We got up every morning, put one foot in front of the other, and kept going. That's not to say that we didn't feel overwhelmed at times or that we didn't struggle with feelings of sadness or despair. Of course we did. But we didn't need a special month to remind us that life was hard. We didn't need to be told to feel sorry for ourselves. Instead, we dug deep, found our strength, and kept moving forward. And now, as we face the challenges of aging, that same strength is still there, deep inside. Yes, it's okay to acknowledge when we're struggling, and it's important to seek help when we need it. But we don't need anyone to pat us on the back and tell us it's okay to feel sad. We already know that life is full of sadness. What we need is a reminder of our own resilience, of the strength that has carried us through countless storms. You've lived long enough to know that life doesn't get easier, but you also know that you've gotten tougher. You've learned to weather the storms with grace and dignity, and that's something to be proud of. Don't let anyone tell you that your best days are behind you, because as long as you're still fighting, you're still winning. 4. We've all faced our own battles. If there's one thing we've learned over the years, it's that everyone has their own battles. No matter how put together someone may seem on the outside, we all carry scars. Some of those scars are visible: the loss of a spouse, a serious illness, or the financial struggles that have followed us throughout life. But many of our scars are hidden: regrets, missed opportunities, the pain of losing people we love, or the weight of decisions we made that didn't turn out the way we hoped. The fact is, no one makes it through life unscathed. Every person you meet has a story, and often the people who seem the strongest are the ones who have suffered the most. That's why it's so important to remember that you are not alone. Whatever battles you've faced, whatever struggles you've endured, there's someone else out there who's been through something similar. It's easy to feel isolated in our struggles, especially as we get older. The world seems to move faster, and sometimes it feels like no one really sees us anymore. But let me tell you this: you matter. Your story matters. The battles you fought and survived, the victories you've earned, and the losses you've endured, they all matter. And here's the thing: your fight isn't over. Even though you've been through so much, there are still challenges ahead. But the fact that you've made it this far is proof that you have the strength to keep going. Don't underestimate the power of your own resilience. You are stronger than you know, and no matter what life throws at you next, you've already proven that you can handle it. 5. The true strength of a man or woman is in their perseverance. When we were younger, it was easy to believe that strength was all about physical ability. We measured ourselves by how much we could lift, how fast we could run, or how long we could work. But as we've gotten older, we've come to realize that true strength isn't about muscles or speed, it's about perseverance. Think about the times in your life when you were exhausted, when you thought you couldn't take one more step, but somehow you did. Maybe it was when you were working long hours to support your family, or maybe it was when you were caring for a sick loved one, or maybe it was just the daily grind of life that wore you down. But every time you thought you were at your limit, you found a way to keep going. That's the kind of strength that matters. It's the strength to wake up each morning and face whatever the day has in store, even when you don't feel like it. It's the strength to keep moving forward, even when you're tired, even when you're discouraged, even when life seems to be beating you down. And here's the thing, you've already proven that you have that strength. You've lived through wars, recessions, political turmoil, and personal loss. You've seen the world change in ways that you never could have imagined, and yet, through it all, you've kept going. There's a quiet dignity in that, isn't there? The ability to keep fighting, even when the odds are stacked against you. That's what makes you strong. Not your physical abilities, but your perseverance. And as long as you keep going, you're winning. 6. Life isn't about perfection, it's about endurance. One of the greatest lessons we learn as we age is that life was never meant to be perfect. If we spend our days chasing perfection, we'll end up frustrated and disappointed. The truth is, life is messy. It's unpredictable. It's full of setbacks and mistakes. But that's what makes it beautiful. Think back over your life. How many times did things not go the way you planned? How many times did you have to adapt to circumstances beyond your control? Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted, or maybe your marriage didn't turn out the way you hoped. Maybe you faced financial struggles that seemed insurmountable, or maybe you've lost people you loved far too soon. But here's the thing, you endured. You didn't give up, even when things didn't go the way you wanted. You found a way to keep going, even when the road was rough. And that, my friend, is what life is all about. It's not about having everything go perfectly. It's about enduring through the tough times and coming out the other side with a heart that's still open, a mind that's still curious, and a soul that's still full of love. Don't waste your time chasing perfection. Instead, focus on the things that really matter. The people you love, the memories you've made, and the lessons you've learned along the way. Perfection is a myth, but endurance is real. And as long as you keep going, you're winning. 7. Take pride in the struggles you've overcome. There's a certain kind of pride that comes with age, isn't there? It's not the kind of pride that brags or boasts, but a quiet, steady pride that comes from knowing you've been through things that would have broken someone else. You've faced losses that would have shattered a weaker person. You've dealt with disappointments that might have made someone else give up, but not you. You're still here. You're still fighting. That's something to be proud of. It's easy to look back at your life and see the things you didn't accomplish. Maybe you didn't become the person you thought you'd be when you were younger. Maybe your life didn't turn out the way you expected. But let me tell you this, you've accomplished more than you realize. You've raised children, built relationships, created a home, contributed to your community, and touched the lives of countless people along the way. You've survived hardships that would have crushed others, and through it all, you've maintained your dignity and your sense of self. That's something to be proud of. Don't focus on the things you didn't achieve. Instead, take pride in the fact that you've overcome every challenge that life has thrown at you. You've fought through illness, loss, and heartache, and you've come out the other side stronger than ever. That's something no one can take away from you. 8. The fight isn't over, but that's what makes life worth living. Here's the truth, friends. The fight isn't over. Even as we age, there are still battles to be fought. The challenges may be different now. They may be quieter, more subtle, but they are no less real. Maybe you're battling loneliness. Maybe you're facing the loss of your independence. Maybe you're struggling with the realization that the world is moving on without you. But here's the thing, the fight is what makes life worth living. Think about it. If everything were easy, if we never had to struggle, life would be boring. It's the fight that keeps us engaged, that keeps us striving for something more. It's the fight that gives life its meaning. You've spent your whole life fighting. fighting for your family, for your career, for your health, for your place in the world. And now, as you face the challenges that come with aging, that fight is still there. It's still in you. And as long as you keep fighting, you're still living. Don't let anyone tell you that your best days are behind you. As long as you're still fighting, you're still winning. And even when the days are hard, even when it feels like the world is pushing you down, remember this. You've already survived so much. You've already proven your strength. And as long as you keep getting up, as long as you keep fighting, you're still in the game. So, friend, take heart. The road ahead may be tough, but you've already shown that you can handle it. You're a warrior, and warriors never quit. You've fought through the hardest parts of life, and you've come out the other side with scars to prove it. Those scars are a testament to your strength, to your resilience, to your ability to keep going no matter what. And that, my friend, is what makes life worth living. Conclusion: life has never been easy, and it never will be. But that's okay, because you, my friend, are tougher than life. You've survived battles that others can't even imagine, and you're still here, still fighting, still living. Take pride in that. Take pride in your ability to endure, to persevere, and to keep going no matter what. And remember, the fight isn't over. As long as you're still here, as long as you're still breathing, there are still battles to be fought. But you're not fighting alone. We're all in this together, and as long as we keep fighting, we keep living. So hold your head high, keep your heart open, and face the challenges ahead with the same strength and dignity that have carried you this far. Because in the end, it's not about the victories you've won or the battles you've lost. It's about the fact that you kept showing up day after day, year after year. And that, my friend, is the greatest victory of all. Thank you for watching the entire video. If you find these stories inspiring and motivating, please comment 1. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.